While the city of Bloomington did not have a proposed data center on the agenda, nearly all of the speakers Monday night were decidedly against that idea. Here's Angela Spampa.
An undeveloped property south of Ireland Grove Road near the Central Illinois Regional Airport is now a potential site for future industrial development, which could include a technology park and/or a data center. However, that item was not voted on Monday night and was left off the consent agenda. Bloomington resident and first-generation farmer Ruth Burke voiced concerns about a possible data center that would be about 2 miles from her farm, pointing to a lack of clarity from city leaders.
The city is preparing for large-scale interest, and I would just really like to see transparent conversations happen and get the community aware of, again, the conditions being perfect for some type of industry like a data center or another industry that uses a lot of water and a lot of power.
The city of Bloomington did not respond to requests for comment on resident concerns, but McLean County board member Leah Klein addressed the issue in a Facebook post, saying, "At the same time, there are practical reasons this area has been identified. The recent addition of a nearby Ameren substation means this location has significantly greater capacity for high-energy users than other parts of Bloomington Normal. That makes it a logical, though not uncontested, candidate for projects like data centers." Burke said after seeing how other data center projects across Illinois have been approved, often through land redevelopment and what she describes as limited transparency, she wants the community to be more involved early in the process.
And especially not to leave us out of the conversation until the project is 80% complete. That's really not good planning. That's selling a community out. And I think this is such a wonderful place to live. And I really believe that we have the capacity to forefront community well-being and community inclusion in the decision making.
In Bloomington, Angela Spampa, 25 News.